Welcome to today's Explainer. Let's jump right into something that is literally a game changer for a problem we don't talk about nearly enough. Imagine being, say, 8 years old. You're carrying this incredibly heavy burden. Maybe something happened at school or at home, and the adults around you, they just seem way too busy, or you're simply too scared to bring it up. Well, today we're unpacking a brilliant project called KidAssure. It was actually a submission from the 2026 Gemma for Good Hackathon, and it asked this really profound question. How can we use the absolute cutting edge of private AI to give every single child a safe space? Just let this number sink in for a second. 1 in 5. The data shows that 1 in 5 students report being bullied. And that's not just a passing phase. The American Psychological Association points out that this links to a nearly 4 times increase in mental health risks. We're not talking about a rare one-off thing here. We're talking about a massive systemic crisis happening literally right under our noses, in our very own classrooms and playgrounds. So put yourself right in their shoes for a minute. Where exactly do you go when you are absolutely terrified to speak up? For a lot of kids, especially those in under-resourced communities, the answer is nowhere. They just suffer in total silence. They don't tell a teacher, they don't tell a parent. There's this massive, echoing gap between the mental health support these kids so desperately need and what they can actually get their hands on when they're scared. And that brings us to what we really need to call the invisible childhood crisis. Honestly, the numbers from the CDC and APA are just heartbreaking. Up to 85% of kids struggle with self-esteem at some point. And beyond the bullying we just talked about, look at this. 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 20 boys face childhood sexual abuse risks. And get this, 93% of the time, they actually know their abuser. So you might be wondering, why isn't existing tech fixing this? Well, school counselors are already completely swamped. Mental health waitlists are averaging 6 to 8 weeks right now. And if a kid tries to use an app, they hit platforms built for adults or apps that need a constant Wi-Fi connection, which a lot of kids just don't have. The tech we have today is completely missing the mark for kids between 6 and 14. But what if they had a private companion? A real solution designed entirely around them? See, to a child, KidAssure isn't just another flashy game to tap on. It acts as a fully private, completely judgment-free companion. It literally feels like a trusted friend who is always there, just ready to listen. They can vent about their day, type out their fears, or ask questions without that looming fear of getting in trouble or being judged by a grown-up. Because it's built to be a genuine companion, it takes those moments of deep isolation and turns them into moments of empowerment. From the kids' point of view, they suddenly have a safety net right in their pocket. Whether they're sitting all alone on a park bench, riding a noisy school bus, or just hiding out in their room, help is right there, instantly. So how does it actually do this? It's built on 3 core pillars of support. This app creates a really comprehensive safety net through 3 specific modules. First up is the self-esteem builder. This is where a kid can journal their strengths and do growth mindset exercises. Then, you've got the bullying support module. This helps them actually put a name to their feelings and learn real coping strategies to get through those awful social situations. And third, and this is absolutely crucial, the body safety awareness module. This provides age-appropriate education on physical boundaries and consent. It's basically an all-in-one emotional toolkit for a child. Now, I know exactly what you're probably thinking. Wait, is it actually safe to just leave a child alone with an AI? And KidAssure solves this brilliantly by completely separating its safety logic from the AI itself. When a kid types a message, step 1 is a deterministic local keyword scanner that actively looks for signs of a crisis. If it detects danger, boom, step 2 kicks in right away. It escalates the situation by offering real hotlines like child help, or it alerts a preset trusted adult. It's only after that safety check clears that step 3 happens, which is the Gemma 4 AI generating a supportive, child-safe response. So crisis intervention never ever relies on an AI model just guessing what to do. Of course, none of this matters if the child's data isn't completely secure. That brings us to the privacy-first shield. Think about traditional cloud apps for a second. They need Wi-Fi, and worse, they log user data to some remote server. If you're an 8-year-old confessing your deepest fear, the absolute last thing you want is that data floating around somewhere on the internet. But KidAssure does something genuinely revolutionary. It runs totally offline. 0 data is sent to the cloud, logged, or stored. Nothing. To a child, all that technical jargon boils down to one beautiful, simple truth: your secrets stay completely yours. Because the entire Gemma 4 AI is running locally right there on the device. It essentially creates this invisible digital dome of privacy around the child. Nobody is listening in. No massive tech company is harvesting their data to sell ads. It is just the child and their companion, completely enclosed in a safe, secure little bubble. And the tech making that privacy shield possible is incredibly intentional. It runs on under 4 gigabytes of RAM. Why is that a big deal? Because it means this life-saving AI can run on a super cheap old Android phone or even a beat-up school Chromebook. Plus, once it's downloaded, it functions fully offline, which is an absolute game changer for rural schools or shelters that don't have reliable Wi-Fi. On top of that, it supports over 140 languages and automatically tweaks its vocabulary to a 3rd to 6th grade reading level. It is quite literally built to reach every child, everywhere. So, what is the real-world social impact of all this? Just think about what this actually means for a child's day-to-day life, whether they're on that chaotic ride home on the school bus or just hanging out at the neighborhood playground. Because it works completely offline and speaks over 140 languages, this companion can actually reach kids in under-resourced and immigrant communities, in places where mental health waitlists are weeks or even months long, and a kid might feel totally isolated. KidAssure steps right in to be that supportive friend right in their pocket. There's this one quote from the project write-up that really hit me hard. The gap between what children need and what is available to them is vast and preventable. Think about that last word for a second. Preventable. Because KidAssure is built on an Apache 2.0 open source license, any school district, any local nonprofit or community center anywhere in the world can take this code and deploy it for exactly $0. We finally actually have the technological tools to close that vast gap. So I want to leave you with a thought to really ponder today. We started by looking at this heartbreaking crisis of invisible childhood struggles. But when you look at what on-device AI like Gemma 4 actually makes possible, you really have to ask yourself, what happens when every single child in the world has a private, judgment-free safety net sitting right in their pocket? It's such an incredible vision for the future of AI for good, and one that I really hope leaves you as inspired as I am. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.